Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kanza Afzal. I am heading strategy and business development at House of Habib. Prior to this, I was at Engro for over a decade, worked in areas of capital allocation, portfolio management, corporate governance, and the likes. Really excited to be moderating this panel. Our session today is called We Have Evolved a New Look, Same Direction. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to hear from founders and leaders about specific moments that led to visible changes in their business, whether in products, branding, or business models, while the underlying purpose remained intact. So without further ado, let me introduce our fantastic panel. We have with us Qasim Awan, Executive Director at TCS and MD TCS Ecom Solutions, guiding a legacy logistics brand into the e-commerce and digital era. Dr. Muhammad Azib, founder and CEO of MedAngle, a doctor and full-stack technologist who turned a med school project into an AI-powered super app for medical students and doctors. Saad Farrukh, co-founder of EV, drawing on a traditional auto background and betting on Pakistan's electric scooter and urban mobility space. And Usama Naeem Nini, co-founder of Curios, using community and AI to accelerate careers across markets in the Middle East and beyond. Thank you all for being here. So let's start with the moment where the real evolution began. Think of the moment where you thought things aren't going the way we would want it to be. We would want to evolve. What was that exact moment, and what exactly did you decide to change? We can start with you and then perhaps take it from there.
Does it work from here? Hello? Yeah, okay. So I think the moment that we decided to go through an evolution in our journey was about a decade ago when, with the advent of e-commerce or the explosion of e-commerce volumes in Pakistan, and we understood that we were opening up more accounts than before. Volume was scaling at a pace never seen before, but at the same time, the problem was that our complaints were going up, right? So we were growing volume, but our percentage of complaints was growing higher than our percentage in volume because of this entire cash on delivery angle and the fact that cash management is a skill we had to learn for the first time because e-commerce orders tend to be cash on delivery orders. So what we did was we went back to the drawing board and we realized that guys, we're not just a courier company anymore. Let's take advantage of the infrastructure that TCS has, and we should become a full on-suite e-commerce solutions provider. And the division I run today is called e-commerce solutions based on that, right? Yeah. So because with these entrepreneurs who run online shops, there's a lot of responsibility we have on our shoulders, in terms of delivery, in terms of the management of their cash, and not only that, but giving them a lot of visibility into what's going on, right? Because people have anxiety over their packages, they have anxiety about when they're going to get paid. So in short, we decided to evolve from being a courier company to being a full-scale e-commerce solutions provider. And previously, our mantra used to be the fastest delivery, right? As far back as the 1992 World Cup, we had an ad on TV with Wasim Akram saying, Pakistan ki sabse tez tareen delivery. But now, we feel that what gives our clients the most benefit and the most peace of mind is the predictability of our scale, as well as the visibility into what is going on. So if you have a situation whereby, according to parcel number or according to the, if people know where every single rupee is going on the portal on which they interact with us, that gives them more peace of mind, right? So in my experience in Pakistan, scale works when it's predictable in the eyes of the consumer. It's predictable and it gives visibility, which gives peace of mind and calm to the customer. So that's when we changed.
Perfect. Thank you for that. What about you?
So for me to talk about evolution, I first had to talk about revolution. So when we first started MedAngle, there was nothing of our platform's technology in Pakistan. And for the audience, you might not know this, but Pakistan is the world's 5th largest producer of doctors every single year. And when we first started out, it made no sense to me that our neighbors to the east in India had their institutions, their investments, their software technologies, and the same story was repeated in, of course, Canada, England, a lot of our Western counterparts and so forth. So we set out to revolutionize in Pakistan, and that's what led us to the evolution, because we saw the fragmentation within this country. Pakistan's a huge country. So we saw that medical students, future doctors, people who wish to be healthcare professionals, there was so much fragmentation, as in students juggling 10, 15, 20 different tools for a singular use case. And that leads me to my next point about evolution, especially in the past couple of years, which we saw two major trends or instances which helped us accelerate and, of course, evolve. And the first one being, of course, as everyone knows, the COVID-19 pandemic, which we saw a dramatic acceleration of online education and an overnight almost legitimization of these mediums and tools that people use for education. And of course, the second one being the landmark paper out of Google, which was Attention is All You Need, which has given birth to the modern AI and LLM era, which was like ChatGPT. So for us, when we revolutionized things in Pakistan, we saw the fragmentation that was existing back then. You know, if you imagine our country's top medical institutions who are teaching and training our future doctors, dentists, and professionals, it made no sense that back then there was, people using papers, notebooks, flashcards, old school methods of learning and teaching. And then we reduced that fragmentation to seeing students juggling 10, 15, 20 different tools. Now in the modern era, we've condensed that to our technology to just a few, and that for us is our greatest evolution.
Thank you for that. What about yourself?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So, I belong to a very traditional business. After my master's, I joined my father in 2012, which was a trade company for spare parts for motorcycles. So, I spent my first 10 years of my career with him, and all that long time, we have seen a lot changing from our young age to teenage, I would say, in midlife. We have seen the cassettes changing into the mobile Spotify. We have seen the changing the TV into Netflix and everything. So, but इतने अरसे में बहुत सी चीज़ों को बदलते हुए देखा, एक चीज़ बदलते हुए नहीं देखी कभी भी. That was a traditional bike. So from past 10, 20, 30 years, as long as I remember, we always have seen that same typical motorcycle on our roads, which had been, we all, हम सबकी बस हो गई. We needed something different on the roads as a layman even if we drive the product or we don't drive the product. But as a layman, just looking on the roads, if we travel to other countries, we see a lot of beautiful scooters, a lot of beautiful bikes as well, different colors and everything. But hey, we didn't have a lot of options. So that was a real conception where we thought, okay, now it's high time and we should have something different. So we had been working on a new product back in post-COVID, back in 2021, 22, and we wanted to bring scooters to Pakistan. And while working on the scooters to bring a new segment into our country, so we thought that now we are entering a new era. So bringing the scooter, a change in our company, in our country, we should also bring something more innovative, which is electric. And because the world has already moved, a lot of countries, on average, right now in the world, there's around 30-35% penetration towards the EVs, but in our country, it was just a start. If you talk about today, it's just like less than 1%. So there's a lot of room in that segment. So that was the main conception of bringing the EV scooters to Pakistan. So yeah.
Thank you. Usama.
Thank you for having us here. I think the panel should rather be called "We Are Evolving" rather than "Evolved." It's still a process that we are undergoing.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, change is constantly happening. So, I mean, it's not going to be something that hasn't happened. I mean, every day we are changing a process or a part of our strategy. But the biggest change that at least that we've gone through was that when we started or set out in terms of what we want to build, we were building more so a B2C sort of a company, which was more of an edtech sort of a solution. Slowly and gradually, a lot of people had told us not to get started off with this, but we weren't going to listen. But anyway, we started. And soon enough, we realized that the appetite and ability to pay for the students or the learners was a lot lower than what we had already thought of previously. Especially when you want to build something out of this region, and when I'm talking about the entire MENAP region, this sounds big, but it comes with a lot of its own challenges. So there was one day when I was speaking to a student in Bahrain, and they were like, they have some sort of a local card restrictions which does not allow them to pay in Visa or MasterCard for some reason. I mean, I still don't know the problem completely inside out because there was so many of these problems coming out from different countries that it was not humanly possible for us to go in each and every country to solve each and every problem statement, especially when it's people who couldn't afford to pay a larger sum altogether. So this is where we decided to move more towards B2B and start solving the same problem statement. This mission stayed the same in terms of accelerating 100 million careers, but we just tried to go a very different direction than we set off with at first.
Oh, thank you. That's very insightful. So the key themes that I'm seeing here are that change starts with a hard truth, whether it's customer churning, technology landscape changing, someone owning the risk and taking that plunge, and then it being a very specific decision rather than we want to evolve. It has to be very clear into what part or what aspect of the business do you want to change. And so just diving a bit deeper, Azib, MedAngle has evolved into an ecosystem of products. And so curious to understand, what is that simple test that you have to say whether a new idea is an evolution or a distraction? And give me an example of a time where that test made you say no to a decision.
So we do quite a few things at MedAngle across product management, design, engineering, and whatever new features and technologies we launch for our entire customer base across the country and now internationally. The one thing that we always come back to, our golden litmus test, that is that does this new feature or technology or capability, does it decrease the cognitive burden on our end user and our end customer? Because as I said earlier, there's this idea of fragmentation and confusion and this paradox of choice that people have more options than ever before. And especially for us in education, the idea was that if we could kind of condense that further down and make sure that we're not adding to the confusion and the complexity, but instead crafting a more precise, a more smooth experience, that's really our end-all, be-all kind of thing that we do when it comes to investing in new features, new technologies, not just for our customers, but our entire community as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great insight. So simplification. Saad, you've moved from a conventional auto business to becoming an EV brand. That's a big move. So what did you decide to take on from the previous business, and what is it that you wanted to leave behind while you were building EV?
When we entered into this space, there were a lot of things which we wanted to carry on from our traditional business, because we have been working on that business for more than a couple of decades from my father and his grandfather. Mainly the ethics, values, delivering our products, quality, on-time deliveries, committing less, delivering more. So a lot of those things, a combination of all those things, which are the core values of the business, I would say. Taking care of the team, having a great team with you, and then valuing them, not undermining them, taking them along with you, making them leaders along with you. So a lot of things, I would say, had been very important, because I had an experience of 10 years with my father working with him in the traditional business, so a lot to learn from there. Having said that, there's no end to learning. Like previously she said that there's a lot very important to unlearn. It's sometimes more important to learn. So a lot of things we have to do differently. In our traditional business, we always followed. We always did what was being done. We never even thought of innovating something, because that was a very traditional market. When we entered into the EV space, we actually wanted to do something very different. We were not here to do a very similar product or a similar thing which others are doing. Entering into the space of the two-wheel, it's a 1.5, 2 million market in our country. It's a very big space, While entering the market, we had a very simple option that we come up with a product, a two-wheel new product, and just compete with the existing competitors. So that's not what we're here for. If I talk about maybe after 10 years, I don't see a market of the gasoline bikes going anywhere. I see them maybe doubling down in the next 10 years, and maybe we should be able to create our own market of our own. It's like, we're not here to sell, we are not here to pitch to anyone that you can sell your bike and buy my scooter. We don't want that. Anyhow, what we want is that guy, he's supporting probably 4 or 5 people in his household by taking them somewhere. For example, he has a wife, he has his father, maybe he has to go to a mosque to pray. His wife has to go to a tailor, his daughter or son have to go to their college, university, or something like that. But that one guy is taking the responsibility of everyone out there. Or all of the other people are dependent on their friends and family or ride-hailing apps or public transport, which is a mess out there. So we are here to tap that market. We are not pitching that one guy to sell his bike and buy my scooter. We don't want him to sell his bike. So we want him to get this scooter for other people. If you compare our economy to some similar economy like Indonesia, they have a similar population. Interestingly, they have a market of around 6 million two-wheelers in an year as compared to 1.5 million in Pakistan. The main reason behind is that in one household, they have 5 or 6 bikes rather as compared to one bike in our household. Because over there, it's not a taboo that females can't drive. So that is why we are here for. We are here to have a new market. And we want to innovate. We want to change this taboo, and we want everyone to have their own vehicle. So yet, it's always should be a combination. We should never let go what we have learned from our past experiences, because that is very important. That has been the core of our business. But at the same time, we should be very open to let go some of the things we have done before, and should be very able to learn new things, new experiences. And it's a journey. It's a long journey, I would say. Even today, we can't say that we know very well about the EV space. We need to learn. It's been just 2.5 years that we have been doing this space. We need to at least work for next 5 years, 10 years, and then maybe accept this thing that, yeah, where we now have done something different. So it's always going to be a learning process for us.
Thank you for that. Usama, Curios has obviously been through a journey of evolution. And so in your biggest shift, how did you take along your team to not feel like they're lost, to feel that this is us walking in the same direction, maybe a new path, but not that we're feeling lost? How did you go about this? Give me one concrete example.
Yeah, that's extremely important. I mean, if the team starts to lose the direction, that's probably the worst thing that can happen to a company. I mean, in our case, I think it all started with transparency. I mean, whenever there was a change in direction in any part of the business, let it be on the highest level strategic point of view or very much of a process improvement, it was more of a transparent conversation with the right stakeholders in terms of what is it that we are doing and why is it that we are making that change. That becomes extremely important for them to be sold to the idea themselves first. So I mean, I cannot go out and sell it to my customers if my own team is not sold on the idea. So that's never going to happen. So that's the most important thing. And I think what made it a lot easier in terms of aligning the team was that we never changed the mission that we were on. The mission has always been to accelerate 100 million careers, what we usually say, and that's probably the first mission statement I said out loud when we started out the company, and yet today it's still valid. It's just how we do it might change, and that's completely fine. We cannot be obsessed with the way that we are doing things. The market teaches us different things, and we need to be adaptable, and that's the beauty of being a startup altogether. But I think the most important thing, at least what I can tell, I mean, maybe my team still feels differently, is transparency. That's the most important thing.
No, I agree with you. I think transparency and perhaps seeing in action what you're saying, right? So in terms of just town halls and announcements, those aren't enough. But if the teams are seeing what you're saying in action, I think that's what matters the most. And thank you for that. So Qasim, TCS has been an identifiable brand. What decision did you lead at TCS Ecom, which, let's say, felt un-TCS to perhaps some people internally, but you went ahead with it? So just give me an example of that.
Hello? Yeah. Okay, so I think that what happened was that we were we were watching the startup wave and the funding wave in 2020 and 2021 very closely, and all of a sudden everyone just started saying that, tech first, we have to go digital or else we're going to, something really bad is going to happen to us. Everyone was all about tech, digital transformation. And what happened was that as the board and our senior management at the time, we got together and we did a lot of research that, how exactly do we pull this off properly? And then, we consulted with some people abroad, we consulted over here as well, and we found out that the majority of digital transformations actually fail. Whether that's in Pakistan, whether that's abroad, across sectors, across industries, the majority of digital transformations tend to fail. And this was a very interesting phenomenon. So I said, okay, maybe we're not doing that badly. But the way that we figured out that the phenomenon about why digital transformations fail is because you have situations whereby whereby majority of tech teams who are in charge of rolling out the softwares are digital natives, right? Whereas the people who are the users of the technology are digital immigrants, right? Including if they are the elderly, including if they are the semi-literate. In Pakistan, these people are digital immigrants. They're not digital natives like someone in your IT department, right? So with the new IT head and the IT team hired in 2022, we've been following a very different formula towards digital transformation. We consistently keep the use of the technology in mind, and rather than actually focus on technical jargon and technical info, we focus more on the comfort level of the end user in terms of the technology, right? So someone who is a courier of mine, his opinion matters more, if not as much. His opinion matters 51%, and the software programmer's opinion matters maybe 49%, because you have to, at the end of the day, roll out something for the users of the technology that they find convenient. So we have internal focus groups, we have internal communication sessions whereby our IT department is always communicating very closely with the users of the technology. This could be your internal customers at the company or external customers who are your customers, right? So consistently staying in touch with customer feedback, customer opinion about what they find easier to use, rather than what was happening in our company traditionally, which was that just the IT department was rolling out technology that they thought were good, right? So this disconnect is what we tried to bridge the gap. And we've rolled out a lot of internal AI-related predictive analytics. We do a lot of credit risk analysis through artificial intelligence, and it's really, really helping us in terms of our efficiency. So this was how we evolved internally to embrace technology in a way that was more user-friendly to its, its base.
Yeah. Thank you. So some of the threads that I've heard from you is having a clear filter as to what ideas are evolution and what are distraction, as we've heard from Azib. Then from Saad, having a keep or break list. What are things that you want to carry on in terms of the values that you want to carry on through the change, and what are the ones that you want to leave behind? From Usama, we learned the importance of taking the team along through transparency. And then, of course, from Qasim, that there is going to be some sort of resistance while you're bringing in change, but taking those hard calls and focusing on the customers. So just a quick lightning round with each of you. Complete this sentence for me. A company can radically change itself, but still be the same if it always. Let's start with you, Usama, and then we'll walk backwards.
Okay. I think if it's true to its mission and keeps the team along, I think that's the most important thing that is super core to whatever we do. We can lose every shred of whatever we are doing apart from our team. And I think as long as we're keeping the team together and following the mission, I think everything will fall in place.
Actually, I also wanted to say the team, but because it's very important. In past 10, 12 years of experience, I've always been very keen that team is one of the key elements who can change around on times when it's very tough, especially when we have seen in the COVID times. And so when you're in the business for like 10, 12, 13 years, you do have 2 or 3 ups and downs, big ups and downs, and eventually it's the team who take you out of them, and you surpass them. But other than that, now the team is done, so we have to go with something else as well. So I think next is your customer. You need to take care of your customer no matter what. There's a term that customer is always right, and there's nothing wrong in that statement. The customer is always right. You have to take care of him. If like for us, we were looking for investors when we started our business for this electric scooters, but we were able to raise any major investment from anywhere. Our major investor was our customer. We took advances from our customers at least for 3 months of booking in our product. So I feel very lucky that in our product, the customers had that faith. And it's a very, very important element that we need to take care of them. And it's not about only selling the product to them, it's taking care of them afterwards as well. And you need to make sure that they are the product you have sold to them, because we are from very hardware business. So we are talking more about that because it's at a tangible value and it's going to stay with them for a longer while. So we need to be very sure, and we need to take care of them that the product they've bought, it's fulfilling their purpose, that it's working well, and everything related to that, because that is the reason that the other people are going to come back to us. So for me, now customer is more important. Yeah.
So at Medango, we made the small choice to call it customer success internally instead of customer support. And I think the reason we did that is because what I'm about to say is that a company can transform itself dramatically, and it can still stay true to itself so long as it does a couple things. The first being making sure that you solve real problems, and 2, whatever you do create as a solution for your customer, you have to make sure that's optimized for their experiences that are based in the customer's reality. Not necessarily focus groups, not necessarily what your product management team wants, but actually listening to the customer very deeply and making sure you have the tools and the networks in place to make sure that whatever the customer is requesting or demanding, making sure you have a very sensible, rational sense of that for how you want to proceed forward with your product strategy.
Thank you. Awesome.
So I think, in my experience, one theme that consistently holds true is that you have to change how you work without changing who you work for, right?
Yeah.
That pretty much appears to be the magic formula that we form in our company, that stay close to your customer, always have their opinion as a qualifier. So for example, what I do is if I'm listening to colleague A and colleague B, and then I'm like, okay, and then I kind of qualify my opinion by the third opinion, which is the opinion of the customer. And the guy who's talking the customer's language is the one who I end up listening to just because he's matching with what the customer is saying. So by staying close to customer opinion, I spoke at a conference 2 months ago, I said customer opinion is gold dust. That is the entire basis on which you have to model yourself, innovate, get your budgets going, get your hiring going, market yourself, align your operations internally. So the way that we do it at our company is that we actually have, people not associated from sales visiting clients all the time, people not associated with our retail division going and sitting at our retail outlets all the time. We even have, and TCS, by the way, is the OG startup. We had a seed round in the early 1980s. We've been scaling ever since, and we're still scaling on the basis of customer opinion, right? The chairman and founder of the group, my father, who's in our audience right now, he always said that that I'm not the boss of anything. The day my customers stop coming to my outlets, this entire company will fold. And that's been our mantra from day one. And as part of the second generation, I hope to have that, philosophy going forward. I'm personally known myself to have sat on a scooter and made deliveries myself and sat in cars and vehicles because it's so important to consistently have field-related knowledge, right? And then when that field-related knowledge and customer-related knowledge is the background on which your boardroom is making strategies, I think you're safe as a company. But it's not easy it's easier to say than it is to pull off. But so long as you do it, that's you're on the right path. Yeah.
Perfect. No, those are all powerful insights. I think questions that I want to leave the audience with are, what is it that we're evolving towards, let's say in the next 12 to 24 months? If you can have that clarity in one sentence, not a deck. What is it that you are willing to let go of? What is it that you have to preserve, no matter what change happens, as some of the founders and leaders have spoken about? What is it that you would want to preserve through the change, whether your investor changes or your leadership changes? What is it that you want to hold on to, and how are you going to take your team along and inspire them towards that change? So if you have clarity on those, I think you are living through a new look, same direction. And with that, I would like to thank all the panelists and for all of you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.